didn't know. I broke everything new again, everything that I'd owned. I threw it out the windows, came along. Extreme waves I know will part the colors of my sea. Perfect color me. Extreme waves that
Starting with a look at the left handlebar control, we can see the red engine stop switch, the green button is the engine start, and the grey one to the left is for reverse override or setting the DPS or dynamic power steering level setting. And then on the bottom we have the in-out control for the winch. Moving over to the right handlebar controls, we have obviously the throttle there on the right for the right thumb, and then above it the four-wheel drive selector switch, forward position being two-wheel drive and the rear position being four-wheel drive. The icons are a little odd, but the open spaces in the wheels show that power will be going to those wheels, so four-wheel drive is the one closest to the driver. And if we take a look back at the left again, we see on top of the handlebar, we see the switch for the high and low beam selector, as well as the single brake lever on the left. Now we have a shot of the front racks from the driver's perspective. The ignition key goes in the left side. There are two ignition keys, the black or normal key, and then the gray or limited key. On the left hand side, just beneath the controls, you can see the socket into which the winch remote control plugs, just beneath the hand grip there. And then we have the 12 volt accessory socket just forward of the ignition key position. As we pan down, it's a quick look at the front shock, the left front. Looking underneath at the left rear, I particularly like how the reflectors are tucked away there, safe from damage. You can also see the shock there. Stock muffler with its guard. On the right hand side we see the new for 2014 plastic engine cover to deal with some of the heat issues, and just behind that the oil dipstick tube. Here we have a look at the shifter that's obviously on the right hand side. Park, reverse, neutral, high and low positions. Now there's been some talk of fit and finish issues. Overall I find it extremely good, but there are some issues like a small gap here between the seat and the front plastics that might be a concern to some. Like I said, overall the fit and finish is very good, I find. There's also a couple of gaps here we can see in the front between the plastics there on the right, and the same thing over here on the left. It's not really that big of a deal, but it's not perfect, and that might explain the source of some of the criticism you might have read about the fit and finish. Now we're having a look at the rack. This is the front rack, obviously, with the link system. Those are the diamond-shaped cutouts, which the link quick release fit into. There's also a really cool rubberized grip surface on the rack, and overall I found the racks of excellent quality. They seem very sturdy. Here's the headlights. The large lens there is the low beam, and high beam would be both lenses on together at the same time. And the front grille here, behind which is the radiator in the stock location, and the roller fair lead for the worn 3,000 pound winch that comes with the XT package. Speaking of the winch, here's the winch clutch. You turn it counterclockwise for power operation and clockwise for free spool. If we back up a bit, we can have a look at the factory XT aluminum rims. I think they're a really good looking rim, especially for a factory rim. Here's the rear rack, again with the rubberized grip surface and the link system with the diamond shaped cutouts. And And then if we have a look down below here, we see the aluminum grab handle, not to be used for winching or towing, but a convenient grab handle for hand use. And just below that is the license plate holder, which I think is great, tucked away there instead of stuck up on the rack. And of course, just below that is the 2-inch receiver that comes factory, which is a very nice option, really handy to have. This is a shot of the rear storage trunk, if you will, on the Outlander. Open by pulling up on the black plastic handle. You can see decent amount of storage space inside. There's a couple of manuals that come in there. I believe the manual for the winch, and there's a CD that'll be in there when you get the machine. In the top left corner, there's a special little cubby hole for the winch remote control. That's the one that plugs into the left handlebar that we saw earlier. Tucks away in that cubby hole. There is a gasket to seal the compartment, but you can see there's actually a hole or a gap in the gasket, so it's not entirely water and dust proof, but it should keep things reasonably secure and clean back there. As far as closing the trunk, there's an issue with that you may have read about, and it's just something that you need to be aware of, a trick. If you initially just push it closed, you see it appears to be closed, but the handle is still up, it hasn't come down. You can see there it's not in the fully closed position, so you actually need to give it another push, and it makes a second click, and then the handle drops down, and then it's fully closed in the secure position. If you don't do that, things can come out. You give a yank on it now, it's fully closed, as long as that handle comes down and you hear the 2 clicks. Here's a look at the gas cap location on the Outlander. It's located on the right rear fender, which is a pretty neat location for it compared to other models. Here we have a look at the digital gauge pod. It comes on, it's backlit in orange. You can see a scrolling message there that can be programmed by your dealer. Mine says Wolverine, because that's the name of the beast. And then it tells you the DPS setting there, it was medium. And then there's a number of different modes you can select using this switch here at the top. Starts with RPM, then there's an odometer setting, followed by a clock, and then a trip meter, a second trip meter, total engine hours, a trip timer, and then you're back to the tachometer in RPM. And that concludes our brief initial tour of the Can-Am Outlander 1000XT. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time.